we're running a bit late, but many of the P2P things we already discussed, so we don't have much of things. But one presentation followed by intervention by Singh Sab. So this presentation also, I earlier thought I will do it. You people are tired or sick and tired of seeing me standing here. So I'll request our partner, Power Ledger, Vinodji, to make this presentation on my behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Raji, and it's always a challenge. I haven't gone through the slides, so I'm going to present the slides that I haven't gone through. I suppose before I start my presentation, thank you very much, ISGF, IEX, for inviting us and doing this joint launch of the white paper that we have launched today. And as you go through the details, some of the salient features, this is very India-specific. Power Ledger obviously has experience of working in peer-to-peer projects in 10+ countries with 30+ key clients. Many of them are very big global utilities as well. So we have obviously integrated and worked in different regulatory regimes or sandbox environments globally. But India really excites us for what is really happening here. And have to start with acknowledging Mr. R.P. Singh with the pioneering regulatory framework that he has created. And even before that, enabling the workshop and the pilot to really go through the details of how all of this is going to work in India, the integration of meter data with our platform, and then platform results back to the utility billing system. All of these are practical implementational challenges that the sandbox under which the pilot was done allowed us to perform. And obviously that's then led to the regulatory framework and the guidelines that's been created. So you'll find that in this report there are 3 key imperatives. I would just very quickly in 2 minutes summarize them under societal, financial, and electrical sustainability benefits. I'll start with the electrical and sustainability. The peer-to-peer is a start of managing the supply and demand at the local distribution level. It's almost the beginning of local energy markets where you start integrating not just rooftop solar but other DERs like community batteries or behind-the-meter energy storage system to create dealing with the duck curve or the canyon curves that's been mentioned today. So really enabling through a market-based mechanism, reducing your export back to the grid during solar intervals and reducing the import from the grid during the peak demand. So management of the grid becomes essential. And that becomes a template for how you integrate more renewable on the grid, because as you start the journey of integration of renewable, these challenges will appear around duck curve in a distributed level, voltage imbalances or reactive power management issues at the transmission level with the frequency imbalances, etc. So it requires this sort of template from a bottom-up approach for integration renewable. Financial, of course, there are always in the early stages of any technology adoption, there are incentives, subsidies that are introduced. Net metering is part of subsidy. Switching to peer-to-peer allows you to switch away from those subsidies, and there are clear savings, and the report actually talks about those savings as well. So it becomes a policymakers' reason for actually implementing this, creating a market-based mechanism rather than a subsidy-based mechanism to deploy more rooftop solar. And societal, we all know that there are parts of society which cannot own or have their own rooftop solar or cannot be part of this DER or renewable economy. So buying cheaper, cleaner energy from your neighbor under peer-to-peer energy trading, you are enabling more, the lowest strata of the society as well, or those who cannot afford to have their own rooftop solar or DERs, procure cheaper renewable energy from their neighbors. So these are the 3 clear drivers for why, and there are obviously incentives for discoms to do it. The electrical incentive of the local energy market is the clear incentive because that enables deferment of capital expense, a new way of dealing with congestion and other issues that emerge with more integration of renewable. So I'm going to, in the next 5 minutes, talk about how did we land on all of this. So we obviously done a whole range of pilots in partnership with ISGF. The first pilot was sanctioned in UP by the UPERC, and that then led to other pilots in Delhi with TPDDL, Tata Power DDL, and then we did another very large pilot which is just finished in Kolkata with CESC. I probably will skip the fundamentals of blockchain, excepting that a remark here that to integrate this level of rooftop solar and enabling the sharing, trading, or bringing two-sided marketplace concept into reality, you need powerful technologies, a technology that can provide transparency, security, and trust in all the transactions. And blockchain enables that, not just any blockchain, because you've had various versions of blockchain from Bitcoin to generation 2, where smart contracting was possible, but they were slow and very highly energy consumption blockchains. So looking at the new third generation blockchains, which enables extremely high amount of data to be processed very quickly, because that's what will be the need for these distributed markets. So what together we are enabling is the generation 3 blockchain solution implementation, using the fork of Solana and creating a mechanism that enables sharing, trading of this energy, where you can transact up to 50, 60,000 transactions per second. So blockchain allows that. These are some of the applications, other applications as well beyond peer-to-peer, and I already mentioned local energy markets. There are 14 odd applications in this space. We're going to stick to these 3 pilots that we did here. Each of these were real-time pilots where the data was actually from the customer meters collected on our platform through integration, API integration through MDMS systems. And then all the trading logics were on Power Ledger platform, which the users could log in and see their details of how they were performing. And the DISCOM had the overall admin view of all the participants and all the transactions that were being conducted. So scope of the first project, obviously it was done around about the time when COVID happened. So obviously we could not get a very high level of participation. We had 12 participants, 9 prosumers and 3 consumers. The objective was to provide prosumers with flexibility and incentivize the uptake of rooftop solar and provide opportunity to the utility for financial gains from wheeling charges, testing out all the key tools that will potentially then allow for scaling up. So the project was completed during COVID time. Just after that, a report was submitted to the UPERC, and which led to a tariff order, and then further progress, as we've seen and heard today, into regulatory guidelines, which are most well-detailed and well-defined guidelines that exist anywhere in the world at this point in time on peer-to-peer energy trading. The participants in this trade were able to, consumers who did not even have rooftop solar were able to buy energy cheap, 43% cheaper than what they would normally buy from grid by participating in peer-to-peer trades. And prosumers were able to sell at a higher price than what they would normally get under net billing or a net billing, net metering mechanism. So they were benefited, and obviously the benefits of DISCOM that I've talked about, potentially moving away from net metering, so saving in those subsidies, and also start of a new two-sided marketplace, local energy market concept where supply and demand can be matched and balanced at the distribution level. So the capital expenses that will normally be required for augmentation of the grid can be deferred. These are the regulatory guidelines. They're already on the UPERC website as well, and widely available. And thank you again to the chairman of UPERC, the then chairman, who came up with this. At this stage, there is a progress. This is now looking at scaling up, and there is a process of RFP coming up in the state of UP. Following that, then another significant pilot was done in Delhi, and we had a lot more participants here. In excess of 115 customers took part. Some of these sites were TPDDL's own sites, but others were actual customers, prosumers and consumers who took part. TPDDL came out with a unique incentive program as well to enable more customer participation in this program. And this was also, I think, between 9 to 12 months it was run, and we tested out a whole range of trading logics, fixed price trading, dynamic price trading, preferential trading, even allowing them to gift or donate their excess energy. So tested out a whole range of these features. And that also then progressed to a detailed project report that was submitted to DERC. And thank you again from DERC that obviously it's progressing, and there is already a draft regulation, and comments from DISCOMs were sought, I think, in the last couple of months. So hopefully we'll have a full regulation in place in Delhi as well in the near future. So what this is then, in parallel, while we were progressing with this pilot, we were approached by CESC to do a similar pilot, but with a much bigger scale. So almost the entire rooftop solar capacity of Kolkata city was tested out under this pilot. So more than 1,000 sites, more than 26 megawatt of rooftop solar, which was part of this pilot. So significant data. So from 12 customers we scaled up within this pilot environment to 26 megawatt of rooftop solar, and we enabled this sharing trading mechanism. And again, key findings from that, whole range of it, incentives around moving away from net metering to a peer-to-peer environment, looking at this balancing of supply and demand management at the local level as a key initiative. And as you start to see more distributed solar penetrate at the distribution level, there is obviously then the need for bringing storage into play as well. And that's where the template for orderly integration of 100 and progression to 100% renewable starts to come up. So countries like Australia, where there is a very high penetration of rooftop solar, like 1 in 3 houses on a national level have rooftop solar, around 35% penetration of residential rooftop solar. In new suburbs, almost every house comes up with rooftop solar. So the challenges of these excess energy during daytime, reverse flows, these are real. So we're already seeing 3 levels of energy storage appear there. Very large grid-connected batteries for frequency regulation in the ancillary service market. Community batteries or distribution level batteries at substation that act as community batteries for dealing with substation feeder level issues, but also behind the meter residential and commercial batteries as well. So combination of these in a market-based environment is the solution, and that's the peer-to-peer energy trading is the start of that. Recommendations gone to, we have to create recommendations where we will be engaging with the regulator as well in post the Kolkata pilot. And and these are some of the details around how blockchain works. I think I will skip these details. By and large, I've covered all the details of the projects. But these India-specific projects have literally created, from a small scale to very large, how this can be done. We've heard from a whole range of speakers today the need for almost, if I can summarize, creating this two-sided marketplace where the energy from distributed rooftop solar that is unscheduled, not accounted for in the overall tariff structure or overall regulatory structure at this stage, with these types of initiatives will start to become part of that mechanism. In Australia, AEMO, Australian Electricity Market Operator, also thinks, or AEMC, which is the market regulation, market rule-making committee, that this will be the future for integration of renewable in an orderly way on the grid. So thank you again, and great to be part of this report launch, and great to be part of the journey in India in bringing these solutions to Indian market as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vinod. You want to take up, sir? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So request Sri R.P. Singh to make a on the UP regulation and also on his vision about how this blockchain technology, peer-to-peer and all going to change the energy landscape. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Reggie. I'll basically give you the brief outline of what this guideline we have developed is. We have defined all the stakeholders of the peer-to-peer energy market, namely the peer-to-peer consumer and the prosumer, the platform service provider, the utility, and we have provided for the transaction charges to be provided to the service provider. And as we all know, there are three types of mechanism in the rooftop solar metering. First is what we call is net metering, where the energy is set off against the consumption. Whatever is the generation by the rooftop solar, that is set off against the grid energy, and is a bidirectional meter which is used in this particular case. The second type is what we call is gross metering, where there is whatever is the generation that is totally 100% fed into the grid, which is unidirectional. And the third one, which was introduced with the new rules notified by the central government, is what we call is net billing system, where again there is a bidirectional one, but the only difference is that the surplus which is fed into the grid is paid a feed-in tariff which is given by the regulator. Normally the feed-in tariff in UP's case is whatever is the last year's discovered price for the renewables plus 25% premium. So that brings it around 3 rupees 60-70 paisa. So with these three frameworks, we have to also look into what is the tariff structure, because these tariff structure of the consumer, they provide the basic platform for creating this market. Now, as we all know, in India, the tariff structure is slightly different than the Western countries, where the industrial tariff is lower than the domestic tariff. But in Indian context, the domestic and agriculture tariff are subsidized one, and they are also cross-subsidized. Subsidized means the government provides the subsidy, and then there is further cross-subsidization which is provided by the industrial and commercial users. So typically in UP, I'll tell you, the domestic tariff varies from rupees 3, which is for the lifeline consumers, and it goes up to 5 rupee 50 paisa for the domestic consumers. Whereas for the industrial and commercial consumers, it starts from 8 rupees onwards and goes up to 11 rupees. So this is the difference, this is the delta which provides the market opportunity. So if a prosumer is there, he is otherwise getting, say, through gross billing or gross metering or net billing, a feed-in tariff of 3 rupees or 4 rupees. Or if he is an agriculture prosumer, he is getting very less compensation for his generation. So for him, it is an opportunity to sell his surplus power to the other consumer within the same distribution company. And for that, we have created this framework. So what he is supposed to do, both the prosumer as well as consumer, they have to register themselves. The distribution utility has been kept in the loop. They are the whole and soul for providing these services. They will appoint the service provider, but the registration has to be done by both the prosumer as well as the consumer. And once they do the registration, then after that, there is another regulation which is in place that you can set up the rooftop solar not exceeding your connected load with the distribution company. So that takes care of the infrastructure part of the distribution utility. That means, there is never any chances of exceeding the current flow within the same distribution network area. So supposingly I am a 10 kilowatt consumer, I can install rooftop solar only up to 10 kilowatt, not more than that, so that it takes care of the infrastructure part of it. Metering is essentially post-paid smart meter, because no other type of metering can cater to this requirement. So we have kept provision for only post-paid smart metering system. Then, like what we do in the exchange and otherwise also, the prosumer has to, he has got the option. Either he sends his offer to sell surplus energy either a day in advance or in the same day. But we have defined that day in advance he has to file on the website by 5 p.m. or at least 1.5 hours before. For the intraday transaction, he can sell that this much power I am ready to sell at this much price. So he sends his offer. And then consumer accordingly has to give his counter offer that he is ready to buy. So the platform then matches this, and then the transaction is done. Now after the transaction is done, this whole process keeps on going on for the whole month. And this whole transaction is accounted for through the blockchain technology. And at the end of the month, the billing cycle, what we have done is we have integrated the whole accounting framework with the billing cycle of the DISCOM. So the service provider will make out the total that this much unit was sold by this consumer. So for that consumer, when the monthly bill is generated, that energy will be set off, and for that there are certain payments which is to be done, that will be done through the counterparty. Here the distribution company works as a counterparty. Similarly for the prosumer also, whatever accounting is done, it is integrated with the DISCOM's monthly bill. To bring in discipline to that, we have tried to bring in the concept of deviation settlement also in this, so that the prosumer doesn't give a schedule and then subsequently doesn't follows that. Then we have kept a provision for that also, and then certain penal charges will be levied on them. That is applicable also on the buyer. So that way we have worked out, and then what are the charges which is applicable on these transactions. So say for example I am a commercial or industrial consumer, my tariff is 8 rupee. I want to buy a cheaper power. So there is an offer from some prosumer who is ready to sell at say 5 rupees. So we both agree for that transaction. So there is a still there is a profit for me for from 8 rupees I will be paying only 5 rupees or say 6 rupees, and the generator was getting say 3.5 rupees or 3.75. Now he'll be getting 6 rupees. So his gain will be 2.75 and his gain will be. But this is not the total gain they will. Both will have to pay certain charges because they are using the distribution company network. So whatever is the wheeling and distribution charges, that has to be paid. Second thing also what we have provided is that since the consumer category, he may be a subsidizing one. If he's going away, then the distribution company may lose the cross subsidy. To compensate that, he has to pay the cross subsidy surcharge. So the distribution company's interest has been preserved, and in this whole thing, the price which will be discovered is individually between two agreeing parties. Unlike exchange. Exchange, you have got a clearing price which is common for everyone. Here, what we have said, it is between two parties, whatever is like a, you go to buy vegetable, you make a deal and negotiate and buy. So that sort of framework we have created, and then everything is linked to the billing software, billing system of the distribution company. And at the end of the month, the distribution company generates the bill. We have also laid out in case of, because there are certain instances when the bill is not paid in time or bill is partially paid. So who will get what? That is also decided, and we have tried to make it a very transparent, fair, and reasonable one. So this is the guideline we have introduced, and the distribution company has already issued a RFP, and I think very soon it is going to be fully rolled out in the state. I'll be happy to answer any question or any comments on this.
Anybody questions to sir?
Good.
Mike, please.
Sir, thank you for this great activity that you have spearheaded, and thanks for the wonderful clarification and helping us understand this regulation guideline. So one question, you mentioned that it will be one-to-one bidding, but since at IEX we believe that double-sided close auction, which is considered as the most competitive way of discovering price, I think that can also be included, because you are saying that by 5 p.m. on day-ahead basis, the bids needs to be submitted. So if there are multiple buyers and multiple sellers, then obviously the platform can aggregate the bid and can discover the price that will be most competitive.
Yeah, but we thought that first in, first out basis would perhaps be. Anyway, I think that it has to evolve. Whatever we have said it. We have kept a provision for, relaxing, amending and all those things. So as the things move forward and as the demand comes forward, I'm sure the Commission will definitely consider these. But the idea was that first come, first serve will close that thing, and then the people will be knowing it in almost real-time basis that what is the balance power which is still available or not available.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
I have a question regarding DISCOM revenue loss, which might occur. As you told, consumer and prosumer, they both will pay some wheeling charges, cross subsidy charges and all. So I want to ask, is there any variation in the revenue that DISCOM will be getting in current scenario, and in that case, peer-to-peer sale?
It will not be a loss to the distribution company, because there are certain charges which are there. Now, those charges, we work out that this is going to be the wheeling cost and this is going to be the distribution cost. So, he is, in any case, recovering that cost. So, the distribution company is not getting any loss, because he is being compensated for utilization of his assets. That is number one. What he was losing was a cross-subsidy surcharge. Okay. Now, that also we have said the cross-subsidy surcharge. But since it is a socialized one, cross-subsidy is very difficult to attribute, on one-to-one basis. So, there might be instances that in particular one, they may have lost some money by way of cross-subsidy, and there might have gain. But overall, they will not be a loser.
There will be no variation in the revenue?
No, I don't think so. And at the end of the year, in any case, it is ARR which is to be sent. So whatever is the delta, that gets adjusted in true up. So that's not an issue.
Any banking charges, sir, that you may have considered?
No, banking is not a banking is separate regulation. Banking is provided to the captive users primarily. It's not provided to others.
How long can these people bank the energy on your distribution grid?
No, grid is not a bank. Banking is a facility which was earlier given to promote the renewable energy, and the rule which is notified by the central government, it limits it to certain percent and certain days. Our regulation, which was notified in 2019, allows 100% banking to the renewal but till the regulation sunset period of 2014. Okay? So, the harmonization of rule with regulation is a separate thing which keeps on going. But that is again, is a sunset clause for banking. And as the penetration of renewable energy increases, the incentive which is given by way of banking is withdrawn, because grid is not a battery or...
Yes, UP regulations have also shown a roadmap for our discoms to become distribution system operators. And clearly a network fee, the 92 paise, 46 paise from the seller, 46 paise from the buyer, 92 paise they get net revenue per kilowatt hour traded on their electrical network and using their billing system. So this is a very clear roadmap for them to be a network provider, a DNO or a distribution system operator in the coming days. As Vinod would have explained, you would have seen 3 projects had 3 entirely different challenges. In UP, smart metering had just started, so we didn't want to fiddle with the ongoing metering system. So we had installed ISGF smart meters, new smart meters, which was going to, from the smart meters, it was integrated directly with the blockchain platform of Power Ledger. And in case of Delhi pilot, they had the TPDDL had their own smart meter existing there. In UP Oracle billing system, the 12 customers who joined the program, a new instance of the Oracle billing system hosted on the cloud. We ported the profile of those 12 customers who participated. 9 of them prosumers, 3 of them net buyers. So that blockchain integrated back to that new billing system, and shadow bills we generated there. Delhi, it was the existing SAP billing system, and their smart metering system of TPDDL. We had taken the transaction data on a daily basis and integrated with the blockchain platform from their smart metering system and brought it back to their billing system. So both side integration were done. When we went to Calcutta, as you were told, we had 1,000 plus customers. They are all mostly C&I customers who are on AMR, not on AMI. So a day later, the AMR download the data in the night, and yesterday only we get the 96 block rate data of what transaction happened. Despite that, people been actively participating in it. Each one of them, and their billing system is a entirely different CSE on homegrown billing system. So we have gone through all 3 different things. Lalit, would you like to talk anything in another 5 minutes? Then we'll covered. So we'll wait for now Himanshu to issue the final regulation of DERC. Anybody, any last minute questions about either of the topics? If not, I will invite Mr. Anand Menon from Power Ledger to do the concluding remarks and vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Reggie, for inviting me for this concluding remarks. I think a lot has been said already on this, that whatever I say will be superfluous or redundant. But nevertheless, having invited me, what I'm seeing here is that the country has got national targets. It was 40 gigawatts, and it is good news to know that it's going up to 60 gigawatts today morning, and is going to make some things mandatory on the discoms to do something to improve renewables downstream. Another thing is gross metering has very few takers, as we are seeing. They are the ones with the rooftop space. There's no motivation for them to install anything. It is almost zero in UP, as I think, what we understand yesterday. And when you talk of net metering, with all the incentivization provided, we are so far from the national targets. It's 11 versus 40. And if it's going to become 60, so how are we going to manage that? And that's why peer-to-peer trading comes in. So as Mr. Singh was explaining, the tweaking of the tariffs and making sure that it's a win-win for the prosumers, consumers, and the discoms is what we're hoping to achieve in the states to come. So I think, and of course, there's a topic of CFA subsidies and discoms going on net metering losses. So all this could be saved if we can go on peer-to-peer trading. Of course, all these renewables that are going to come onto the grid, can the grid take that? That's another topic of seeing dynamic hosting capacity and such topics coming in. And then batteries come into the picture, because it's nice to have a lot of solar and incentivization through all these reforms, but can the grid take it? Then comes the BESS, the battery storage systems, self-sufficiency at the cellular level, making sure that transformer reverse power flow is avoided, and all those things to come. I think it will be very good to see things happening in the next 5 years, especially the first 5 years. Thank you so much for everything today, and we had a great discussion. I actually filled myself with a lot of knowledge. Thank you so much.